shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Most of us enjoy a good story, whether it's a book or it's a movie, but the reality is we enjoy all kinds of different genres. For some people, it's a good love story or it's an action movie. For others, it's fantasy. I am a huge fan of the mystery. I love figuring out how the pieces fit together and the revealing of new information. Today, as we enter into the gospel, I think we have all the makings for a wonderful mystery. But I'm also reminded of Snoopy on top of his doghouse saying, "It was a dark and stormy night." We don't know it's stormy, but it's a dark night. The story unfolds under cover of darkness. That's when our character arrives. Now, why does anybody arrive after dark? So they will not be seen. He arrives after dark because he does not want to be seen. Now, there's some ways that we can interpret this mystery. Probably the kindest way that we could interpret it is to say, he was a cautious man. There are other ways that we could interpret it, all the way to maybe he was sneaky or even duplicit. But there are all kinds of ways that we can interpret that. But he very specifically goes after dark. The man's name is Nicodemus. And we know a few things about him. We know he's a Jew. We know he's a Pharisee. And we know he's a leader among the Jews. In other words, he is an insider. He's an insider with power. And even among the big deals, he is a big deal. So, he goes by night, protecting his reputation, protecting his standing in the community. We don't know. But he has planned. And he's planned this visit for after dark, and he has also planned his opening line. "Rabbi," he says to Jesus, "we know." We? Huh. Who has Nicodemus been chatting with? Is it a conversation with his family? Is it a conversation among the other Pharisees, his buddies, the good old boys? There's chatting going on. And those we, whoever those we are, have come up with some pretty clear ideas. And the clearest of those ideas is, we understand that you must have come from God. And the reason we understand that you must have come from God are these things that you are doing. Now remember, the Pharisees are the people who are continually shooting down Jesus. They're the people that are continually coming after Jesus. They don't like what he has to say. They don't like his methods. The Pharisees hold the power. And in Jesus, as he talks about this ministry and this new kingdom, it's not power that the powerful hold. The kingdom is for all people. So the Pharisees are continually working against him, and yet there Nicodemus is. Nicodemus realizes there's something special, and Nicodemus can't hold back. He can't just write Jesus off. He has to go. Now, I'm wondering, Nicodemus had his approach planned. He had his first line planned. I am curious what Nicodemus's question might have been. And I have an idea, but we're going to hold that for just a minute. Nicodemus arrives. Nicodemus gets his first line out, and from there, the conversation goes gunny bag. It goes mumbo jumbo. because Jesus is talking about this being born again thing, and Nicodemus is all confused because Jesus is talking at one level and Nicodemus at another level, and it just keeps unraveling from there. Jesus is talking about birth. Jesus is talking about the wind blowing. And Nicodemus is puzzled. He's befuddled. If he went there to get questions answered, it wasn't happening. Now, if I were to be a detective and read into this, I am wondering if Nicodemus's question might not have been, what must I do? That's our question. Just give us the right technique. If I only had the right self-help book, I could figure it out. What must I do? That is the perfect question for each one of us. It's also the perfect question for Jesus, because Jesus says, you can't be further from the truth. It's not about what you do. Being birthed is not about what you do. Where the wind blows is not about what you do. So alongside of this gospel today, we have St. Paul in his letter to the Romans. And he's talking on, he's taking on directly that, what must you do? And Paul says, righteousness is not something your good works will earn you. Righteousness, right relationship with God. You cannot be in right relationship with God because of what you do. Folks, it's not about us. St. Paul goes on. What is righteousness from? Well, it's from trusting and faith and believing. Oh, we say there's something we can do. But Paul jumps right ahead. It's all based upon grace. Even faith, even trust, even believing is a gift that is given to us. So Nicodemus arrives. Nicodemus has his speech, at least the beginning of it, planned out. And then this conversation just keeps missing because Nicodemus wants it to be practical, wants it to be about him. Must I enter back in and be born again? What must I do? Well, the good news is Jesus is God with us. And the good news is Jesus has done for us what we could not do for ourselves. We cannot birth ourselves. We cannot control where the wind blows. And we cannot make ourselves righteous. Right relationship with God. Just like Nicodemus, we are lost and we are confused. What does this mean? We ask. How can these things be? We ask. And we land right on John 3:16. It is the gospel distilled down to a verse. God so loved the world. It's not about condemnation. God so loved the world that he sent his son, that whoever would believe would not perish, but have everlasting life. It is the good news. It is God's work. It is God's plan. Amen.
Well, this light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.